Every time I go in there, the post office people are so nasty. You wonder why they drive customers away.
That's me into
You know, if they were friendly, like here, customers go out of the way to buy.
Hashem.
It's like, you know, the post
Baruch
office
Hashem.
wants you to buy online.
That's the beginning of the new show.
Everybody does.
Yeah. Yo, can you pass one to Yisrael Meir? Shalom, shalom. Rabbi Yitzchak, give Rabbi Yitzchak one. Okay.
I'll listen while I get coffee.
Very good.
Rob wants coffee?
No, I have
Yeah, of course, but
Thank you so much.
the Mashiach is
Water?
Order, yeah. Thank you so much.
this question through the Syrian Jew. They have a lot of stone where they're going. So they give the manager the money of Shabbat.
Right. I didn't want to talk today about the Shabbat, just the actual thing.
Oh, actually, Shabbat.
Yeah.
Oh, forgot to bring Setzer and water.
Ah, you see?
Nice.
You're brought. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shechach nevidvari.
Amen. It's more important.
We got some left over from yesterday.
Stop it for them.
Not yet.
Okay, let's get straight to it. Today we have an exciting shaila. We bought a new binyan, and boine bayis kodesh is to make a Berocho Shechayanu. So definitely we're going to talk about that shaila. But there's another shaila that I want to start with. Is really it's a choy from last Sunday. Last week on Sunday, the Rambam was talking about the day, those that are learning through Prakim Rambam, the day that they crown a new king. Did you not?
Last week.
That's what I'm saying. Shkocha Protas. We didn't get to it. It was 11:15.
You talking about a Jewish king or
A Goyish king. So we'll talk about it in a minute.
In England.
Ashkocha Protas. The week before, two people asked me a shaila within 24 hours. One guy asked me if he can make a partnership with a goy, a cheese and crackers, and the other guy if he can make with a goy, a Muslim.
Different goy to goy.
No, you'll see in a minute. There's a big difference.
One's in Zoranik.
Yeah, I'll give you a hint. The Ashkenazi poiskim, the Sephardi poiskim say you can only make a partnership with a Muslim. The Ashkenaz poiskim say you could also make a partnership with cheese and crackers.
Yeah.
Hint, hint.
Zu trefa v'zu nevela.
So you can understand why already. The Ashkenazi poiskim say it's very nice for those guys sitting at the other end of the world to say the din, but we have to be makel over here because we don't have any wiggle room. We got to do some business too. Send us a couple of more Yishmaelim and we'll pass like you.
They are. They're taking over Europe.
Okay.
We're Boston too.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So as I said, Sheshkoch Elyono. So let's go straight to it. Not a very complicated shaila, but it's a shaila someone asked. And like I said, at the Shaykh last week Sunday. Shulchan writes like this: Eurachaim Simen Kuf Nun Gimel. V'yizorm l'shtatef im goy shem yischayv l'shvua v'oivim mishum lo yisham al picha. Shem l'kim l'chayrim lo yisaskiru lo yisham al picha. That you're not allowed to cause that someone should mention the name of avodah zorah. Now, if you're going to make a partnership with a goy, and then you're going to say, "Hey, Johnny, did you take the stuff from the fridge?" And he's going to right away start saying, in the name of this avodah zorah and that of avodah zorah, I didn't take it. So you caused that the shame of avodah zorah should be mentioned. So you're not allowed. Okay.
So that partnership not a worker?
You're saying how come the worker the same thing? Why does Chazal make the Gzeda only? Only it could be when it's a worker.
It may be easier to control workers than
No, it's mashma from Rashi that it's in the sugya that they'll make the yid be sheveh, make a shvur. Yeah, I'm sorry that the goy will make a shvutim, not the yid. The pashtus, the difference is that if he's your worker, you have more control over him. You have can say nizrika mipiv, but you have more control. This is the balabos. So they didn't want to be machmer so much.
And Ashkenazi said that you can only make a partnership with a Christian.
No.
They said not a Muslim.
No, everyone agrees a Muslim is not a problem. The question is if you can also do with a Christian.
What about an atheist who doesn't believe in God?
So it's not a problem. That's not a problem. And that's what we're going to talk about in a second.
Was atheist not
To make-
if it comes from later on?
If he comes a from, now we have to know what to do.
Heller told me once, with a guy you make a partnership. With a Yid, you only say L'chaim in shul.
ויש מקילים בעשי שותפס עם גוי, בזמן הזה. משום שאין הגוי בזמן הזה נשבועים בעבודה זרה. ואף אגב דמזגינים בעבודה זרה מכל מקום כוונוסם לעושי שמיים ואורץ. אלו שהם משתתפים שם שמיים ודבר אחר. ולא מצינו שיש בזה משום לפניבר לעשית מכשול דראינו מוזרים על השיתוף. Okay, so this is a big kula. The truth is, this is a classic huge Tosfos in the beginning of a Zora that talks about because we have a problem. The Rambam Paskins, look at the next piece in the Rambam. It says Knanim, but really it's just a censorship. It means Christians. So which religion has Sunday as a Yom Edom? It's cheese and crackers.
Yeah.
Yom Rishon Yom Edom. Lefikach also losses lotet veloses emon. Beretz Yisrael Yom Chamishi Yom Shishi Shebachol Shabbos v'Shabbos. Ben tzarich lami Yom Rishon Azma Asher also b'chol makom. Chein noy gemam b'chol edeim. For Ashkenazim, this was like a very bitter pill to swallow. And Chutzlor, it's just I can't do business on a Sunday. It was a very bitter pill to swallow. It was not shayach to swallow. So there's a big fat toises right in the beginning of Avodah Zarah that gives 3-4 kulas why we're makel today with Christians. One of them is that that's like we're not doing business with them. They're charging us so much taxes. They're making us so much sugar. We're just like matzah and mayodam.
Paddling water.
Huh?
Staying, paddling afloat.
Exactly. We're staying afloat. We're just but here I just want to go to this specific one kula, which is a remarkable kula that some of the Rishonim came up with. Okay? Deran, Tosfos, they came up with a remarkable vort, which is a chidush. It is, and not, like I said, that's really the crux of the machlokes between the Rambam and others, and Ashkenaz poskim and Sfardi poskim. Sfardi poskim didn't see it this way. You have to believe in the Eibishter. There's one Eibishter, and there's no difference between a Yid and a Goy. Some of the Ashkenaz poskim came up, like Deran, came up with a chidush to say that for Yid to believe in shituf, it's avodah zarah. For Yid to believe that the Eibishter controls the world, but there's also that another power involved that it's avodah zarah. But for a Goy, if a Goy believes in the Eibishter, but he thinks that the Eibishter put in charge the Koichavim and the Mazolos, that they should help him out a little bit. He gave them a little bit of power. That they should, he doesn't want to get so busy that Rabbi Shalom wants to take a vacation from time to time, and it's a little too. It's mind-boggling. It's splitting. Is getting a headache already from doing so much.
He's down here in Florida, Rav. Hashem's on vacation in Florida here. Beautiful Boca Raton.
It's nice, yeah, exactly. So they say that the Eibishter wants to spend more time in Florida and less time in New York. So in New York, he sends up some of the Koichavim Mazolos to take care of the show. So for Goyim, the Goyim, that's not also. That's not also for Goyim. So that's a very big chidush, and therefore
Very different than a trilogy.
That's how Avodah Zarah started.
I don't know how it works. But it seems that it's clear the shituf.
Right, it's different than saying that the stars are in control.
Are they worshiping?
They're obviously the Ran and the Ramah bringing the Ran is talking about the Christians. They're being the Ramas, but they
the Yeshua Pandit is also.
I guess they thought whatever they believe with Yoshka Pendrik is an Indian of shituf.
Right. I mean, they believe in that.
Right.
They
That's
say
a,
Hillel and-
right. They believe in Hashem. Elamai, whatever it is, that Yoshka Pendrik
He's the son of
is a yeah. So it's an Indian of shituf.
Right.
That's what they.
But it's
Did
different
it-
than serving stars.
Yeah, I'm just saying it as a joke because I'm using. I don't want to.
Filter.
Yeah. I don't want to go into the Nadischkeit. Right. So no, but clearly that's what they're talking about. Yeah. They believe that what the Christians are doing is shituf.
Right.
So bottom line is that that if you ask the Rambam wouldn't accept this. The Rambam holds that no, a goy cannot believe in shituf, and the Ran, Toisfes, they hold that the goy is allowed to believe in shituf.
You know about the night.
Huh?
The Rambam
Yeah,
in
well, obviously, no. I mean,
Muslim countries.
he's
Rambam
traveled
was a
around the
mixture.
world.
Rambam was a mixture.
Yeah.
Spain was Muslims.
Right. So Spain at that time was both.
Doesn't he say why I read once that he wrote that the purpose of Christianity is to prepare the world for the idea of Mashiach?
Yeah, and then Rambam, true.
But in the meantime, we have to deal with that.
Right,
How to do this.
right, exactly.
Yeah, by the way, relative to what you're saying, in Brazil and Haiti,
What is it?
Lost his mind, the Eretz Yisrael.
Right, because over there 3 days. Right, but according to this cooler, so it's mutter. According to the school, is mutter. David, what do you want to say?
in Brazil and Haiti and maybe other places, Christianity is entwined with voodoo.
Okay. So let's. I want to bring to your attention. There's a mime that Rebbe, which is kedai for everyone to learn and learn it multiple times. Just a nekuda from this mime. It's a mime that Rebbe said in Tafshin Lamed Aleph and Yud Aleph Nissen. It's one of the favorite maimonim. I know whenever every one of my children come back from Eretz Yisrael, one of the first things they talk about is B'yam Ashke Oso Yom. They learn it in that point. Learn it with the girls. It's a geschmack maime. Just it's called B'yom Ashke Oso Yom. Nasil of Nei Oshin. It's a maime that Rebbe said Yud Aleph Nissen Tafshin Lamed Aleph. And then Tavshim test, the Rebbe was Magia the Maimer, and it was published. And it was like, I remember at the time, it's like, because it's something very tangible. And it's, in some of the orders it talks about some very avoided dikinakudis about, you'll see in a minute. It's negate every day. But he starts off with a medrash. The medrash says that, Moshel HaMelech shenichnas lamadinu v'hoy imoy duchtzin v'frachen v'istar taluti. And the people in the Medina, Chad Omar Anonos Duchtzin Legabei, V'Chad Omar Anonos V'Frachen Legabei, V'Chad Omar Anonos Istar Talutin Legabei. Each one said, I want to be Machnasoidach, this minister, that minister. V'Hoye Pikach Echad L'Sham. There was only one Pikach. Omar Anonos Malka. I want to take the Melech. The Chulu Mischalfen, the Malka ain't a Mischalf. Because they change, and the Melech is not changing. He always stays. The Melech could decide to change the ministers, but he himself stays. But the Behemshech to a long piece of the message before and after. And the Rebbe what's the pshat and the moshel? Obviously, when in the Medrash, the Soidas HaTorah's Genuzim, and even the pshat of Medrash, we see that there's a lot of Meforshim on the Medrash. That what's the pshat in the Medrash and what are the Soid Torah the Muslim. So 3 pshatim. The Rebbe starts off with 3 pshatim. What's the pikhus? What's the everyone understands. If you have a choice, if you were last week in England and you had a choice to take one of the duchsin of the Istar Talutin, or you could take home the Melech, which one would you do? I mean, you need to have a pikeach.
It's a horrible king.
Huh?
He's a horrible king.
So the Mataka is what's the big chasevazoi? So the Rebbe brings 3 pshatim, and ba'omek Yosef. Thank you. One pshat the Rebbe brings is that the Rambam says that originally Avodah Zarah they didn't deny there's an Eibishter. They knew it was an Eibishter. They made a mistake in a very critical point. We know that like we say, that we say that the pshat is that it's not the pshat. The Gemara says that that even though the wine doesn't belong to the waiter, it belongs to the balabas, or if a restaurant, it belongs to you because you paid for it. But you say yashakoyach to the waiter, you give him a tip, you're nice to the waiter. Why? Because the waiter is a bal b'chira. He could bring you the wine, not bring you your wine. He could spill it on the table. He could give it with a smile or not. So if the waiter is nice, you give him a tip. He's not so nice, you put down a quarter on the table. So that's totally in his bechira. Shein Kain, all the koiches in this world, the sun, the moon, every koich in this world is nothing. It's kegarzim biyad hachoytzah, just like
Has no free will.
has nothing at all. There's no free will. So to say yashikoyach doesn't make sense. So they thought that kilu, that there's some koiches in the world that have some, and then they started making more mistakes. That the Eibishter wants it, and then they started making another mistake that the Eibishter wants to go to Florida, and not bother in every pesky detail in this world. So they gave them a little bit of koyach, and then they made a further mistake that they could make the decisions who to give more and who to give less. So if you serve them, you get more. If you don't serve the gods, you get less. So they kept on making these mistakes until the Oz of Hashem audits they started, and that the koichav and the mazel is already themselves communicating with their Nevi'im and so on and so forth, till they came to forget who the Eibishter is.
Now, this is Christianity. You're talking from day one.
Day one from Enish, from the days of Enish to the days of Abraham, from the idols. So the truth is, a lot of Christianity is mixed in with paganism, because it's a cholent and as a kishke. It's a big mix-up over there. It's not
They wanted the people to follow them. So
Right.
it's the same thing. You just have to change
they schlepped the manayim from here for there. It's a big cholent there, and a lot of paganism is really involved there. So akaponim. So that's the so the pikchus of the Yid is that he realizes that they think that if they're going to serve the shemesh and the Yereach mehem oiz and lacham and levana, that they're going to get more ashpa, and the Yid na pikeach, and they realize that everything is in the Eibishter's hands. The Rebbe says that doesn't sound so much in the Medrash, because the Medrash, first of all, there's two nekudas. The Medrash says kulam eschalp and malka enim eschalp. According to this, so the point is that they mamash have no koyach, and they can't give according to this. And another thing is, what's the? So there is another nekuda. There's a second nekuda, which is why the goyim like to serve avodah zorah. The Zoya says, "Yeruach misav is dam tod b'magon bereika, k'mayshaksid asher noichel b'mitzrayim chinam." Unbelievable point that the Yidden said b'mitzrayim chinam. Chazal also said in the Gemara chinam and mitzvahs that in Mitzrayim, in Klippa, that there's chinam and mitzvahs. You get a lot of richness, and you don't have to deserve it. In Klippa, you just take, but in Kedusha, you have to deserve. So Yid has to deserve. If you could take Ashidus for no reason, but in Kedusha, you have to deserve. So because the Yidden are Pikeach, they realize that Kulam Eschalfen, these things that it's brought in Chassidus, that the person who's a Baal Aveda sometimes can be very rich. But eventually, why? Because the Klippa is very happy. The Yid brings them a lot of energy. Eventually, they're going to spit him out, and he'll be left with nothing.
The bill have to get pay up.
Right, but now he's. But the Yidden know that loss. There's that in the Makif, you don't have to deserve. But the Goyim only gets from Chetzonis HaMakif. Loss of love, the Yidden gets from Pnimius HaMakif. But even so, the Yidden are smart. They realize, but according to this, it's still a perception. The Yidden realize. So the Goyim are looking for the here and now. Oh, it's COVID. Everyone's getting a lot of money. It's like, oh, they line up to get the money. What's going to happen? The U.S. government is printing dollars and dollars and dollars. This whole economy will be shot. The Goyim trachtnish. They all lined up azoi, and they want to take. The Yidden are thinking, Rabbanu Shalom, what's going to be? This government is crazy. What's going to be tomorrow? Every Fruma Yid said, what's going to be tomorrow? These guys are nuts. The Yidden were taking too, but I mean, they were like, well, what are they going to do? But Yidden, the Yidden were like wondering what's going to happen. These people are nuts. So the Yidden, according to this, the Yidden again, this aseichel de kazach, it's a cheshbon. The third shot that Rebbe gives is that this is all true, but there's another nekuda. The goy is always thinking for his toyelas. What's good for me? The Yid is not thinking of my toyelas. When the Medrash says that the duchsen ameschalfen, it means it's a dover hoive v'nifsad. It's not emes. And the Yid doesn't want to hold on to something which is not emes. The Yid says, I better have a tuna fish sandwich and a big steak, but this is emes. I want to serve the Eibishter, because that's the emes. Those are mischalfen. It's not emes. It's not the pshat in the Medrash like you might think, that the Pikach was so smart. He realized, where do you get the money from the justice minister today? You can Clarence Thomas, you give him a nice vacation to Florida, you give him a gold watch, you give his wife a bottle of wine, you give him a ride in a private plane, and then tomorrow you're at the court case and you mashachet him and you get what, and then the Yid knows that eventually this blows up. And so he wants to go straight. That's also emes. But the emes is that the posha, the pikchus of the yid is that he does not looking for the gravy. He's looking for the emes because they're mischalfen. And the malka ain't a mischalef. He wants to do avodas hamelech because that's the emes. Because that's the emes. The Rebbe brings that from Chassidus that a person who's thinking and he's doing business, the Pol Machshavosam Rak Latoves Atzmai, if that's avodah zorah. So the Rebbe says, "Mezeh mashma shelo rak machshav anegei sibas aparnos, ela gam machshav rak latoves atzmai idugmas avodah zorah." Interesting avodah de kavod. That if a person thinks that if he's going to he can outsmart the business world, he is the smartest guy, and that's why his business will succeed. That's grob avodah zorah. That's tak avodah zorah. So what do you think? You think if you're going to outsmart because you're going to outsmart everyone else. That's how you're going to get parnasa from the Eibishter. But Bedakus Yoy said, avodah zorah is even if he doesn't think that way. But his whole koch in his business is because he wants that he should have a good life. A good life is to serve the Eibishter. If taka your business is to tzedakah, chesed, and give good chinuch to your children, and fine. But if it's to live a good life, so that's the goyim. The goyim live to live a good life. Ayit says this is all mischalef. Olam hazeh is here today and it's there tomorrow.
He lives a good life to serve Hashem.
Oh, so he lives a good life to serve Hashem, but not because he's looking for the good life. So that's a pshat that the yid is a pikeach. The yid is a pikeach that the reason why he doesn't make a mistake to begin with to follow avodah zorah is obviously he realizes that avodah zorah kagazim be'alachosav, and he realized that avodah zorah doesn't have the koyach to give more. But the reason why he doesn't get lured into that because a yid that's when the chelki on Hashem on nafshi. The Rebbe says the pshat is because he has an neshama, and the neshama is lamaila. Sometimes you really want something and you figure out why this makes sense. The yid really wants to serve the Eibishter. So then he figures out also why it makes sense that anyway the sun and the moon has no koyach, and anyway even if the goyim looks like they're rich today, but tomorrow they're going to be bankrupt. But these things come later because and when you look now in front of your eyes, you see that the Rishon are rich and they're not the chinam and mitzvahs, and it's going good. So if you think and you think and you think, you'll figure out the amis. But who says that every yid should be such a pikeach to think and think? So the Medrash says that the reason the yidden are pikeach is because chelki Hashem amra nafshi, because there is a neshama that's chelak Hashem. So the yid really deep down, higher than seichel, he has something in him telling him, don't look at this narishkeit, the Rishonim that are wealthy and are doing good today, because the reason why his seichel is thinking clearly and he's not getting pulled with the winds of the time is because he has a neshama. Anyway, so that's the bottom line.
Rabbi says it's part of the test. The guy is rich, so you might think, oh wow, so it pays off to be bad.
Right.
It's part of the test also.
But that is a nice word. That here, like usually we say that the seichel is shoicha in a negative way. Here is in a positive way. That because the yid is so deep is chelki. That's a pshat in the medrash. Why is he a pikeach? Why is he smart? Because chelki Hashem Amranashi, his neshama is not letting him get fooled by the avodah zorah.
Well, so the bottom line, are you allowed to go into business with a guy or not?
So bottom line is you're allowed to. You're allowed to. I suppose. So here's the deal. It was funny because two people asked me, Shaila Sfadi asked me that day. If he can make a shutus with a Muslim. He has in his business an Albanian Muslim.
But
he wants to
because they were brothers. They are our
And they don't-
That's why we're allowed to do that.
And they don't serve avodah zorah at all. So I said, and the same day, so Ashkenazi asked if he could make a shutus with a noitzeri. So I said, Baruch Hashem, he didn't ask the other way, because if the Ashkenazi said he can make a shutus to Muslim, it's no problem. As the Sfardi asked me if he can make a shutus with a noitzeri, it would be a problem. It's taka. Sfardi, huh?
Wouldn't it depend on if you go like the Rabbi or not?
No, Sfardim go like that. I'm not there. I mean, this was the big thing that Bavad Yosef. The Kollel Beracho, he said that, the cheese and crackers people. So
What a sign across the street. Maybe they're going to get Ashkenazim to be partners on the Saudi.
what do you mean? A Sfardi? Most Sfardim follow the Maron Beis Yosef, who follows the Rambam. So unless he could prove otherwise, that in his kihila they have a chazaka to pass him differently, it's not obvious for that.
What if he's not going to make the guy swear he buys stock in the company, but he's never going to.
Stock is different. We have to give a share of no stock. I'll tell you straight out. I
If
don't
someone
think stock
sues the
is
company,
good for
the
Sri Lanka.
show doesn't get sued.
I don't think it's a problem with stock. I don't think it's
So
Berocho.
it's a company, it's not a person.
Right, who owns it? It's a complicated thing. Let's read the number.
I know a Hampshire company bar, but they do roofing and they have a glacier partner. The Shabbos, they can take emergency phone calls. There's a leak in the
Oh,
roof.
that's another thing. How do you deal? You have to work it out. The big,
He's up 24/7.
you have to work it up and you start the partnership. But that's a separate child. Let's read in the Rambam. Quickly, the first piece we read, the second piece, Aloha Hey. Yom Shemiskansim Boy Goyim, Lahamid Lamelech, Makrivim Makalsim Lalayim, Yom Chagmul, Vareu Kishor Chagim, Avlevi Kacham Shoyso, who Chaglatz, and Lloyd Kachim Shulam, Kalsim Chanel, Bim Teglach, Ziknola, Belarus, Yom Shalom Benayam, Shasam Esum, Yom Shasam Mishtal, not good for any also, Loisa, Yom Boisa Ish, Ken Yom Shemes Lames, Viasu Chag, Oisna Oisim, Asurim Boy, Oisa, Yom Bachom Misa Shref, Kalim. Tinum Keteris B'Dushish Rabbi Diskacham, Ein Yom Osir, Elav Deb Bavada, Loisim Shesmeichim Boy, V'Oichon L'Shoisim Meshamras, Neminagim, Nekavad Amalach, Avalheim Ein Moedim Boy, Adei Elu Mutorim Losas Velosis Imam. So then it says, the Rambam says, already himself leaves a little bit of a window. He says that the people that are celebrating the day of the coronation of the king, but they're not really believers in Avodah Zarah. So it's today L'Choida.
Even the king doesn't believe in the Avodah Zarah.
So exactly. Today they're not adukim, which is the first nekuda. There's two nekudas that Amos said. One is that today they're not really serving Avodah Zarah, just a cultural thing. The second thing is that by them it's shituf. So the Rambam doesn't accept the second, but the first, if they're just doing it in their minhag, so then it'll be mutter for you to join. But in Beis Menachem Mendel, I must say that we didn't make a big deal about it, the Achtoras HaMelech in England. Because it's not something which is it wasn't negated to us, and it also brings up very bitter memories. The first there were a lot of balatoises in Britain, and Britain has stands out that the first what we know the first blood libel was hatched in Britain.
York.
Yeah, and there is the story of the Kedoshim of York, which Adayom is not recognized by the British government for what it is. The day that Richard the Lionheart was crowned as king, there was delegations from Jewish community all over Britain that came to bless him. And they were publicly shamed and kicked out of Westminster, the palace. And on the way out, they were attacked, and several of them were killed. And this snowballed into an unbelievable amount of unrest.
Jews don't live in York.
This was 1189.
Yeah.
And ultimately, in 1190, in the city of York, which has a special shaykhs to us because we're in New York, and that's the old York, that there were riots and the Eden.
It's a pogrom. There's a pogrom.
Right, there were pogroms, and Eden went to the citadel of the city, and they fortified the citadel. And when they realized that the government had allowed the city to just to ransack them and kill them, there was one of the Rav Haroshi was a tzaddik Rabbeinu Yom Tov, and they like the Kedosh Ashkenaz. I mean, they believed that they had the mitzvah of the Kigol Kiddush Hashem. And they made a brocha, and they killed each other. They shechted each other, and eventually,
Like Mitzvah.
similar like Mitzvah, they killed each other.
Jews don't live in York today. I don't think Jews live in York.
No, but the thing is that they're never recognized. There's like still a little. It's never been read. For years there was like a little plaque. They're saying that in 1190 there was a group of Jews that were held up here. And they were frightened, and accidentally they caused a fire. The Jews caused the fire.
But they did archaeology. Archaeology was done recently there, and uncovered all kinds of things.
Right. Horrible for things. So,
but Rabbi, it's funny.
So that was the day that this guy's Zayda.
It's funny they just found his body recently. Richard Lionheart is buried in the parking lot.
Oh, okay.
It's funny we're talking about it.
They found his car.
They found the horse.
It was buried in the parking lot.
Today I heard in the Israeli news that the new king, he agreed to come to be the first king in Israel. So they're making a date when he can come.
No. Okay.
Just read it.
Listen, we have to It's nice for the Jews in England. They made a kiddush with a malchus, and they, huh?
His mother didn't want to say Jews for Iyar.
Huh?
His mother didn't want to say he's in New York.
Yeah, we're not.
His grandmother is buried
His
in
own
Israel.
mother. Yeah.
He already came to Israel because his
Oh, so
grandmother
they-
was.
Yeah.
Huh?
In
I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't forget,
Yeah,
Jews
it's
were
not so
banned
big.
from
Huh?
living. For hundreds of years, Jews were banned from
Right.
residing in England.
Right. So
Right.
look, for the Jews in Britain to make a kiddush, obviously there's covered the malchus and shalom malchus, but for us here, I'm just explaining why we didn't make a big thing.
We don't.
Exactly. Yeah, okay. Quickly. So the Shiloh is, we Baruch Hashem, this Wednesday we closed on a new property, and Bemis, it's the wrong word to use. We closed. It's not a closing. It's an opening. It's a grand opening. Shaila is what bracha to make. Should we make a bracha? What bracha to make? What kind of bracha? What kind of bracha? When do you make it?
You're allowed to.
We haven't had a ground.
In the days of Sfira Soimer, could you make it the Sfira Soimer? The Ben Ish Chai actually, the Ben Ish Chai has a whole seder when you make a Chanukah Zabayis for a basic Knesset. It's fascinating. He has certain psukim that you say, and he has a whole yeah, a certain psukim in the Torah. It's an unbelievable thing. But anyway, we're not holding at that point yet.
No, this is for a show.
What?
For a show, not
Right.
for a house.
Right. So first, let's read. Shulchan Aruch says, "Bona bayis kodesh, ikona kelim chadoshim, afilo oila keyoytze beilu tchilo ikona v'chodze v'kona mevora kol pam shechion." And that's the Mishnah. The person builds a new house or buys a new house, he makes a shechion. Bayit Hativ says, "Kol bonu ikona beis hakneses or nisteru v'chodzeru banu." If they bought a shul or they rebuilt a shul, Yamet shliach tzibur v'vorach b'koram atoy v'ameitiv. Why atoy v'ameitiv? Because shechionu is something that only you enjoy. But if something that two people enjoy together or multiple Jews enjoy together, you make the bracha atoy v'ameitiv. Shari Tshuva says, "I'm by it hativ. Shemdivrei aleket needed the brich shechionu lo yavorchu. O kshabonu beis hakneses b'kila kedisa Amsterdam." I wonder which basic Knesset. There's a fancy basic Knesset in Amsterdam, the Portugal, the Portuguese synagogue. At Ada Yoim, there's a beautiful chandeliers, gorgeous shul, and they didn't wire it up with electricity. They still kept the original chandeliers. That if they ever there's like hundreds and hundreds of candles that you have to put into the chandeliers.
They go down. You pull it down, then they put everything, and then they pull it back up.
It's beautiful. You see the glory of that basic Knesset. It's unbelievable. Yeah. So there was a Chanukas Habayis in the basic Knesset in Amsterdam. Dorish Rav leChanucha v'Hoirish Achaz Nivar Shechionu v'Rabach Kolokol v'Hoirish Lo Yavar. Kein Daite. Think also b'Shuvet Beis Yehuda b'Sei b'Torish Konakol v'Shlo Yavar Shechionu. Mishnah Berurah says what they're going to buy is v'daf shabona. I can't allow some nation shoot for the gavei kol shoot and vorach tova meitav. I can call shabona ikona basic Knesses yamet shadz vorach bakor ram tova meitav like this kula. So bottom line is we see here when you buy a shul that there's a machlokes. Some say make a bracha, some say don't make a bracha. Which bracha should you make? Some say make shechionu, and some say tova meitav. Why? What's the shaila? So I'm just a redux of what the shaila is, based on a tshuva from the Chassam Sofer and a tshuva from Rav Kook. So the Chassam Sofer says that the problem is the mitzvah slavli honis nitn. He says there's no pleasure here. A shul is to daven. There's no shechionu atov ameitev is only for pleasure. So maybe we shouldn't. On the other hand,
when you daven properly, you get
the biggest tainug in the world. Okay. So that's one issue. So that's it. And the other thing is, on the other hand, is
we say what's different?
Right, exactly. We met because we're saying so. Rav Kook had a alumnus on them. He says because when you saying shechionu is taka good because mitzvah is taka lovely on. I'm saying shechionu is manazeh to do the mitzvah. But he says like this: the problem is that a shul is a sheared good. It's we have 100 Yidden in Beis Menachem Mendel, and Mitzvah 200 and 300 and 1,000, and it's a shared good. We're sharing the new building in Beis Menachem Mendel. The problem is the bracha atoiv v'ameitiv. Atoiv means good is coming to me and good is coming to you. But schar mitzvahs b'hai al Melech. Atoiv means there's something good, tangible coming to that. So he says to make on a mitzvah shechayanu you can make, but to make atoiv v'ameitiv, how can you make atoiv v'ameitiv? Atoiv v'ameitiv means something good is coming to me. $5 in my pocket and $5 in your pocket. We're sharing a jacket. Sunday I wear the jacket, and Monday you wear the jacket. But the Beis HaKnesses and the Beis HaMedrash is not like a jacket. It's not. It's schar mitzvah b'hai al Melech. So I don't know. I think it's a little bit funny
we
to
go back to the Batei Mikdash in the Mishkan. Do we have not that they made brachos, but do we have anything to work with?
Yeah, you're gonna. I'll answer your question in a second.
Because I mean, we see Shlomo Melech as a long tefillah, blessing the Klal Yisrael, blessing everything. But that's not a bracha. That's it's a whole
Okay.
Before the entrance inside the way, so there was no bracha.
No, but I'm not saying that in terms of limiting to a technical
Okay.
bracha.
I heard the question. You want to give the answer?
There was a bracha Birkas Koyanim before Aaron made a
No,
bracha to the Yidden.
it's not a bracha. This is not Beches Eidoah. But the Chassam Sofer says in his tshuva, Hine nehira aluf naorei, Reb Mendel Zelig, Rav Beis HaMedrash, Frankfurt, Zipperli, Shoya Talmud Muvik Shel Hagon HaGodol, Reb David Shterois Katz, Shoya Bezin Bekehila Kedisha Piurde, Betchilos HaRosh Befrankfurt Damayin, Ukshenosa me Frankfurt Bedorash Befiurde Bebeis HaKnesses, Yano Yeshmoi David, Hischel Vayevorech David es Hashem Leine Kolakol, Vema David, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam shechayanu v'kimonu v'giyonu l'zman hazeh. B'shem Hashem. And then he says, Oy efsha atoy v'ameit v'loy nehira. And I'm not sure, says, I remember hearing, everyone spoke about this, and I heard this from my friend, but I'm not sure what the Reb David said, but he said, his name was David, and he started saying, Vayivorech David es Hashem leine kolakol, v'yema David, Baruch atah Hashem melech haolam shechayanu v'kimonu v'giyonu l'zman hazeh. Or he said, but either way, he weaved it in. The kilu, he didn't say now a brach. Not allowed to say a brach al. But I mean, this is like a brilliant chiddush. We don't see other poskim like not allowed to say brach al, but you're allowed to say Shem Hashem in the right context, right? When you say apostle Tehillim, you're saying 7 times Shem Hashem. When you say apostle, but it's in the context of saying apostle. So he came up with a chiddush. Then when do we say you can't say Shem Shemaim Levatolo in a bracha when you're saying Baruch Ata Hashem, and you can't just say like this. Such a beautiful day. Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech haolam shechayanu b'dvar. You're not allowed to do that. But if you're gonna weave it into a pasuk, you're allowed to. I don't find anyone else that says, but that was his trick.
There are countless Chabad centers around the world. Every day another Chabad center is open. We have so much precedent. What's been a Chabad about this?
I don't know. We're trying to figure that out. That's what we're talking about. And he writes, as I said, he wasn't sure what Reb David did. Reb David weaved it into Vayivorech David. Did he say Shechayanu atoy v'ameit? He says B'pashtus that Shechayanu he didn't make. Chodesh maybe divrei Mogen Avram. Void lo shaykh Shechayanu Beis HaKnesses shenisra. Aval atoy v'ameit shaykh. Afil arugi beitar shenitnu lekvuda. Okay, just like the bracha atoy v'ameit. When the Arugi Beitar were buried, they said they should make this bracha. So a shul, the story was a shul was burnt, and then they did renovations and they rebuilt. So it makes sense to say atoy v'ameit. Then he said the bottom line is a yoytze midvereina mavorech eine mafsid v'toy b'toich deroshe b'Shabbos laham shechayin ad sheyovel lekein shekasafti b'shein Reb David Shterois Katz zatzal v'amavorech yizborich. He said that the Rav of that place Knesset should do some type of trick that when he gives us drasha Shabbos, he should say something and weave in like the Reb David Shterois Katz and weave it in a way, but he shouldn't miss the opportunity of saying it. Huh? Oh, so you can put a new suit. Or so here's the shaila. Which bracha do you want to make? Some say some say that toiva meitiv is a shared good. Others say Beracho Shechayanu l'man because toiva meitiv as there's a machlokes. Do you make a bracha? Don't make a bracha. If you make a bracha, which bracha should you make? A toiva meitiv because it's a shared good, or Shechayanu because we don't find the mitzvahs that we should make a toiva meitiv. Mitzvahs you should make Shechayanu l'zman hazeh. We were zeicha for this beautiful day. You know, like that. The message we sent out is that this week, 56 years ago, there was a miracle, and the Yidden were able to have a hand over the Rishon who were holding on to Yerushalayim and Makam Hamikdash, and they announced Har Habayit B'Yadeinu. So Habayit B'Yadeinu. So
how would you make it? Out of the closing?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
a groundbreaking?
Yeah, at each point there's a separate. There's buying the property. There is building. There's a separate thing. Each one you see like a basic nesses that was built. At each point there's a separate shaila. Our shaila was for this week, and the specific shaila was that the Shulchan Aruch never says not to make shechayonu in the 49 days of Sfira. But Lepoil, that's the minute. Mishnah Brura says that if in this damalot to make shechayonu, you should anyway make shechayonu. Mishnah Brura read the Rotzel Veiner laharbes besimcha. Mekomakim in this damalot eiz inyan should tzarich levarchel b'shechayonu yivarech. So you should make shechayonu. However, there are those that say that they shouldn't make shechayonu. Why? Because the days of Sfira is the days of din. And that's what's brought. It's brought also from Rishon ben Yeruchim, and it's the most surprising that Moshe said they don't. But most kehilas is very strict. This thing not to make shechion. Amud the bar is to not make shechion on the days of Sfira. It's api Hagbalah because you don't want to say lizmaz, because the day of Sfira is the day that we're learning Masechah Soita. The days where we're purifying the nefesh habahamis. It's the days that are connected to dinim, and therefore we don't want to say shechion lizman hazeh. But it's a Hagbalah thing. So but toiva meitiv. So we have a double shaila. Anyway, the bottom line is the very simple eitzah for what we did. We took the keys and we opened the house, and we had 2 bottles of wine. And Liesa says the first was red and the second was white, because Rabbeinu Tam says that white wine is always more chashuv than red wine. And we made l'chaim and we made a gofen on the red one, and then we made a toiva meitiv on the white wine. So there was no shilas at all. So we didn't make the bracha l'zman hazeh because it's a double shaila. If you make l'zman hazeh or in Sfira, and a toiva meitiv you can always make on a double wine. And by the way, it's cheaper than a suit. 2 bottles of wine is cheaper than a new suit.
Cheaper than a line of building.
And it's yeah.
And Rabbi, the issue with the suit is it's only for the person who airs the suit. So
right.
They would have to make the shechayanu.
Right.
And here is another mind, because everyone that drinks the second wine
can also make the bracha. Only amen. So Mela, that was the eitzah we did, and that's a very good eitzah. Yeah. And going forward, if we're going to have a shaila about the groundbreaking and with the sabayas,
necessarily so it could be a different situation.
Right, that's not going to be in the Sfira. So over there, we could maybe make shechayonu. We'll have to be done each one. As I said, there's a lot of shailas tshuvas about this because Baruch Hashem, a lot of shuls have been built, and it's interesting. Different shuls that are still standing. That and you read the shailas tshuvas like 500 years ago, or 600 years ago, or 300 years ago when they built the shul, like. What was the discussion? Should we make? Should we not make?
Maybe the neighbors weren't so happy. Huh? Maybe the neighbors weren't so happy, so they didn't say it's amazing.
But Rob, I just want to say that.
So when the neighbors will be happy, we'll make a full.
The new place is really an extension and an addition to the old place.
Yeah.
So it's not as if it's a new creation.
But I'll tell you what, there is, as I said, when we get to Mitzvah Shem, the Chanukah Zavayis, there's something to look at. That there's a beautiful Seder Chinuch Beis HaKnesses from the Ben Ish Chai, and it includes an incredible amount of psukim and thanking the Eibishter that we have a Mikdash Me'at. It's going to be attached to the big base of Mikdash. And there's especially Hirotzen that he wrote for it. So it's a very exciting thing that it's unusual that you get to do such a thing. Huh? Exactly. He wrote the Pism, yeah. It's a dynamic thing. It's unbelievable when not every day do we get to do this.
They find out what Chabad does when they open the Chabad Center.
Right. When we'll do it, someone's going to say that's what they do in Chabad.
Yeah. What they do in 770?
That's a good question. We have to ask. Just leave off with the third child because we do have a minute. Someone asked me, Shloshim Hagbalah, if you can take a haircut. So Shulchan Aruch says yes. There's a minute to keep 33 days. There's two opinions. The first 33 days, second 33 days. Those that keep the second 33 days instead of starting from Beis Iyar, start from Aleph Iyar in order to be able to take a haircut. Shloshim Hagbalah. But in the look at Yom of Erev Shavuos, the Rebbe Rashab, they said the Rebbe Rashab was not happy when people took a haircut in Lubavitch in the 3 days of Hagbalah, only Erev Yom Tov. Why? The Pashtus, again, it goes back to what we just said, because it's something of Hagbalah. Sidus has to do with Gevuda, and you might know about this in the first Maimer in Likutei Torah. The whole thing with Sidus to do with Gevuda because the drop of chayes are coming out, and there's probably something to do with Alpi Kabbalah. But Lepoil, if a person, the din is the din that you're allowed. Arizal also was makbid about this. Again, because it's from the Arizal, so it makes you think that it's something not a pinigla, it's something a pinistic.
If everyone in Crown Heights waited for the last day, there wouldn't be enough barbers.
Okay,
Rabbi,
that's the din. The din is you're allowed to shlosh me'agbola, lapoil, the api pnimius, api kabbalah, dafke erev yom tov. Huh? So it's a very small window. So this.
Is it permissible to do it the night before Shavuos?
Yeah, okay.
You gotta do it in the morning. The reason why. In the morning,
Yeah, morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
The people why we left it here. People you continue not to country now do all you hear at night. That's the. You do it in the daytime. Ideally before that time. The reason he says that we don't cut out here the whole 49 days, not because of they, because the shepherd comes from July to you here. So if you cut it during that time, you cover the whole thing. 49 days to just like we have
Okay, I hear.
to keep back the 49 steps of
I didn't see this reason. Okay, I hear.
Yeah. So, and another thing is, when you eat meat, right? You have to wait. Different hills have different times when you eat dairy. But when you eat dairy, you can eat meat right away. It depends what type of dairy. The hot cheese you have to.
No. But what does that have to do with the here?
No, you can do. Why is that? Because the cheese is white. It's, I said, wine is gevura, it's red. So you mounted the gevuras. If you take the chesed first and then the red, then you mounted the gevuras. So the Rose said about making the chaim on the red wine first. The Torah could be just the opposite. First, you should make the white wine.
Like that, and by the way, Chabad waits after milk and cheese for an hour. Okay, l'chaim, the Eibush shall helfen. That should be take. We should be zeicha to say lazman hazeh. There's no question that the Metz Hashem Mashiach Tzidkenu will come, and we'll make both brachas together. Atoy v'ameitim v'shechiyanu lazman hazeh.